Following a week of victory laps for the White House, what are the effects of what President Trump calls the Big Beautiful Bill? Funding for the Emerald Trail in Jacksonville is a casualty. We're speaking with Republican Congressman Aaron Bean about his support for the trail and the bill. Plus, U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff joining us for the first time, offering a Democrat's perspective. The former investigator calls the bill a disaster for the state of Georgia. And Jacksonville City Council member Matt Carlucci nudges the school board on where to relocate on This Week in Jacksonville. So glad you're with us today. With Congress passing the budget bill favored by the administration and then President Trump signing it on Independence Day, we're seeing some of the early impact of the new law. This week, I spoke with U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff, the Democrat from Georgia, and I asked him about the bill.
The core of this bill is $1 trillion cut to Medicaid to pay for tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans. It's projected that it will result in hundreds of thousands of Georgians losing health insurance altogether, more than 1 million Georgians paying higher health insurance premiums, and push dozens of hospitals, clinics, nursing homes in the state of Georgia toward bankruptcy. The overwhelming majority of the tax cuts are for top earners. And I think the last thing that Georgia voters want is devastating cuts to health care and more expensive health insurance to pay for tax cuts for the rich. I would also add that this legislation adds $4 trillion, trillion with a T, to our national debt, again, mostly to finance tax cuts for the rich.
Senator, you've warned that the bill is going to drive up health insurance premiums for working and middle-class families. And just some of the numbers you just talked about, what's it going to do for thousands of Georgians who would lose coverage. So can you share any data or stories about, I guess, how many Georgians are going to face increased premiums or actually the loss of insurance?
Yeah, and don't take my word for it. Look at independent analysis from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or the Kaiser Family Foundation, projections that hundreds of thousands of Georgians could lose health coverage. More than 1 million Georgians could see substantially increased health insurance premiums to the tune of thousands of dollars per year. And remember, this destruction of the Medicaid program, half of all births in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. 40% of all children in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. 70% of all seniors in nursing homes are covered by Medicaid. And this bill guts the Medicaid program. And for what? To pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest people who, with great respect for their success, I say do not need tax relief more than working class and middle class Georgia families need affordable health insurance.
So you've framed this OBBBA as not only a healthcare threat, but also a setback for Georgia's clean energy sector. How do you see that really affecting it? I mean, there's a rollback to the green tax credits. How's that going to affect the renewable energy industry in Georgia?
Well, the bill is a targeted attack on advanced and renewable energy industry, which is driving much of Georgia's industrial growth. You've got the electric vehicle manufacturing in coastal Georgia, battery production across the state, solar energy production across the state, billions of dollars of private investment and tens of thousands of promised new jobs now at risk because those manufacturing incentives and those pro-American manufacturing policies have been repealed by this legislation.
Senator, let's talk about some of the wins, I suppose, from your office. And one of those things I saw, you're securing over $6 million through the Department of Labor's SAFE 3 grant. This is for the technical college system of Georgia. How do you plan on making sure, I guess, that those funds are used wisely and to help the people of the state?
This is an important partnership with our technical college system. And these certifications, vocational training programs provide people an opportunity to gain the skills to enter stable careers, good paying jobs, saving for retirement, whether it's welding, HVAC, commercial driving licenses, nursing certifications. And these are, we need folks with these skills in our economy. And these are job training opportunities for folks to make more money in more stable employment.
Yeah, Senator, it's certainly the why is apparent there. What's the how? How do you, engage local employers to really guarantee those apprenticeships or that real jobs happen for these folks?
Well, look, when we have a more skilled workforce, when we give people the opportunity to gain these skills, to get these certifications, employers are eager to hire them. So this is about connecting people, whether they're young people just out of high school or people mid-career trying to make a transition who want these jobs with the skills so that employers who need these workers can hire them. It's a win-win for Georgia's economy.
Something I saw that you and the other senator in Georgia, Senator Warnock, you secured over $14 million from the bipartisan infrastructure law for airport upgrades. Walk us through, I guess, how it's prioritized, which airports, and how does this make an impact?
Well, the bipartisan infrastructure law, and we brought Democrats and Republicans together to pass it, is upgrading airports and seaports across Georgia. It's upgrading our energy grid. It's removing the lead pipes from drinking water systems. It's upgrading roads and bridges and rail infrastructure. It's the most significant investment in America's public infrastructure since the Eisenhower administration. Again, passed with bipartisan support, both political parties working together in Congress. And these latest investments in upgrades for Georgia's airports are just one of many continuing investments in quality of life, economic development, public safety in the state of Georgia from the bipartisan infrastructure law.
So, Senator, crack the code for us. Bipartisan. Okay, so working across the aisle, how does that happen? Because so much of what we hear is this partisan divide, and that if you are associated with a certain political party, you're going to vote one way or the other. I think a lot of Americans want to see their representatives, their senators, working together just for their benefit, forget the party line.
You're absolutely right. And that's why I have built deep and decent and respectful working relationships with my Republican colleagues. And that has enabled me to pass major bipartisan legislation that's in Georgia's interest, because I am willing to work with anybody, no matter their political party, if they want to help the state of Georgia. And I will stand up to anybody, no matter their political party, if they don't have Georgia's best interests at heart.
So, Senator, what's next? So much energy, it seemed like these last couple of months, we're going toward the debate on this reconciliation bill. Okay, so now whether you supported it or not, it's signed, it's law, and it's going to be implemented. So what's next? What can you focus on? What can the Senate focus on, Congress focus on, since we don't have to worry about that anymore, I guess?
Well, we do have to worry about it, because now nursing homes and hospitals and health clinics across the state of Georgia face this funding cliff. And we have already lost 9 rural hospitals in Georgia over the last decade. Our healthcare system is already on the brink. And this devastation of the Medicaid program is a huge self-inflicted wound for our nation. It's throwing working class and middle class families under the bus, pushing our hospitals and clinics and nursing homes toward closure. And now we have to work to try to limit the damage, because this is going to be devastating for healthcare in the state of Georgia, and it's going to drive up the cost of healthcare at a time when the cost of living is already a crisis for Georgia families.
Senator Ossoff faces some challengers for his Senate seat next year. They include Congressman Buddy Carter, who represents Southeast Georgia in Congressional District 1. You can see my full interview with the senator on This Week in Jacksonville's page on news4jax.com. All right, and when we come back, I want you to hear from another Republican in our area, Congressman Aaron Bean, supporting the president's budget bill, but also supports the Jacksonville program that took a hit of almost $150 million. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
All right, Democrats won't do it, but Republicans love to call the recent legislation President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Nassau County native Aaron Bean says that he firmly believes in the bill and says he's committed to the local project that had funding stripped away in the new law.
Big deal for America, a big deal for Northeast Florida. I think it's the first step to putting America back on track Ken, as you know, you and I have talked about the budget, our deficit, overspending is still challenging our country. Healthcare is the biggest devourer of our funds. And so I'm happy to tell you a bean bill. We have filed a bill earlier this year requiring work. If you are able-bodied, if you can work, then you should work in order to receive Medicaid benefits. That bill was incorporated into the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I think it's the right thing to do. As I speak on the circuit, I think it's gotten it's getting good support. And I think the majority of people say, hey, it's very reasonable. 20 hours a week, Kent, is the requirement for Medicaid. But there's so many other things. It's one big, beautiful bill for a reason.
Let me
Sure.
stop there. That's one of the points where people have pushed back if they're not in favor of that, is they're saying, hey, that's a cut to Medicaid or Medicare. That's a cut to things that people rely on. How do you answer those concerns?
Well, Medicaid's in trouble unless we make changes to it. It is unsustainable, the pathway we're on right now. So I think it's a very reasonable change. We're also, there's illegal aliens that are receiving benefits. We're also cleansing the rolls from there. But I think it's very reasonable. Kent, the true essence, Medicaid's in trouble, and we want to preserve Medicaid for everybody. Medicaid was designed for the pregnant mom, the child with significant health problems, with anybody with health problems that is unable to afford traditional insurance. That's what Medicaid is for. But unless we make changes, it won't be there long term. So this is the first step. But that was just the first part of this big, beautiful bill, which really will affect nearly 400,000 taxpayers right here in Northeast Florida, preventing the largest tax increase in history. 91% of taxpayers itemize. This doubles the standard deduction. But it also, again, big, beautiful bill for a reason, because border security is in there. It finishes the wall. It allows our federal government to continue to remove the bad illegals that are here committing crimes. They're going to go back home. This gives our federal government the support. It also upgrades FAA requirements of making sure our skies are safe. There's so many things in this bill, and so the right answer was yes. And thank goodness we passed it. It's a big day for America.
So you're mentioning border security. I've recently had Senator Jennifer Bradley, who's a Republican from the state of Florida, and Senator Tracy Davis on our show on Sunday morning talking about the potential for Camp Blanding in Clay County in your district to be an ICE detention area. So how do you feel about that? And some of what I even heard from the Democrat in this case, Tracy Davis, Senator Davis said, yeah, we agree with border security, but this is inhumane. It's not the right way to go for Florida.
I would totally disagree that it's inhumane, but we've seen the success of Alligator Alcatraz. The governor now is looking at other sites. We've helped submit a proposal to give Camp Blanding consideration. It's centrally located. It's a secure facility. There's all kinds of training and other types of exercises going on now. So it's a secure facility, and with very, I think, limited resources, it could be built up to secure. They're looking for 200 beds as illegals are in transition to going wherever they're going to go. It makes sense, and hopefully we can wind up on top, and Camp Blanding can continue to serve the public in that capacity.
One of the things that we heard from this bill that we're talking about that was passed just a week or so ago is that there were certainly, the Congressional Budget Office says, hey, this is going to increase the debt, but there were things that were kind of stripped out of the budget. One of those things affects Jacksonville. There was a grant in there for the Emerald Trail, and so that was removed. How do you feel about that? Because Republicans, Democrats, both, I mean, it's kind of a nonpartisan thing. In Jacksonville, people are saying Emerald Trail is a great thing. Why wouldn't the federal government partner with us?
Well, first of all, count Congressman Bean as somebody that loves trails, loves the Emerald Trail. I partnered with Congressman Rutherford, my partner, along with Jacksonville, to help work to get the grant in the first place. So we're all in. But to get the big, beautiful bill done, there was a lot of reduction in spending. And unfortunately, this project, along with nearly 75% of other grants that hadn't been fully obligated, were taken back and were put back. I've already spoken this morning, not only to Councilman Matt Carlucci, but also Congressman Rutherford himself. We've already brainstormed on it. We're going to get back in line and apply for other grants and look for other things that we can continue the trail. It may not be 147 million all at once. It may be little snippets where we can continue with little legs and connections to keep the momentum going for the Emerald Trail. I'm totally sold on it. It'll be dynamite for Northeast Florida, dynamite for Jacksonville. It's a neighborhood connector. It's an economic little engine that will just make the city of Jacksonville even greater than it is.
I also spoke with Congressman Bean about tariffs and the economic uncertainty. You're going to find my entire conversation with him on news4jax.com on the This Week in Jacksonville page. All right, you heard Congressman Bean mention Matt Carlucci, the at-large member of Jacksonville City Council, joining us next. So stay here on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Hey, Matt Carlucci is with us today, the at-large Group 4 member for Jacksonville City Councilman. And Councilman, two big topics from my perspective. One of those, funding for the Emerald Trail, which Congressman Aaron Bean just talked about. The big, beautiful bill, it stripped $147 million in funding. How do you feel about that?
Well, initially I was upset, I just have to tell you, because it's such a wonderful project. It's been worked on for a decade or two. It's a project that was really thought up by Henry Clouthier, who,
really?
Yeah, back when he...
That's going back a ways.
To 1901, and he called it the Emerald Necklace, and it got changed to the Emerald Trail, but that was, the idea came actually from him, as I understand it. But I will say this, after I took a few deep breaths, the next morning I called both Congressman Rutherford and Congressman Bean just to see what they had to say. And they are devoted to replacing the funding, probably smaller tranches of money at a time, which I think that's okay. And if they are successful, and the mayor is also going to reapply for a grant, it's a setback, but maybe it's one step back and 2 or 3 steps forward.
Well, it seems like there will be a bipartisan effort to say,
yes,
hey, let's complete this. Because what we've seen in part already with the Emerald Trail is that it's going places. It's going to be a great thing.
I was very enthused to hear what Congressman Rutherford and Bean had to say. And so bipartisan, that's the best way. When we all pull together, that's when we do our best.
Yeah. There will be other funding sources, and like you say, Congress may be able to replace that as we go. Let's talk about Duval County Schools and the headquarters.
Yes.
The building on the South Bank is like 2 parking lots over from our television station right here. So it's already up for sale. You have a preferred relocation destination?
Yes, the downtown boundaries. Really, this is a generational decision, and this is what concerns me. The school board is such a big part of Jacksonville. It's a big part of makes us who we are. And the school board right now is technically in the downtown boundaries. To leave, I think, would be a setback as well. But the school board needs a place of significance because it's a significant player in Jacksonville's life. And to stay downtown would add daily activity, add people that would support restaurants and the different businesses downtown. There might be some employees that would want to move downtown, which is a big emphasis in our redevelopment.
Then why leave the current location?
Why leave? So this is a non-binding resolution. I don't want to try to be too many cooks in the kitchen.
We haven't talked about that yet, but this is something you're introducing in City Council.
Yes, I'm introducing it. I'm trying to give it a platform. I'm trying to give this whole issue a platform for discussion amongst all of Jacksonville. And actually, I've gotten a real good number of emails and comments and people that are public school advocates that really want to see the school board stay in a significant place of relevance. They feel like and I do too, if it moves out to the south side, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. But if we can keep it downtown, I think it keeps it relevant. It keeps it centrally located for all of Jacksonville to be able to get to. They want to buy. That's key. They don't want to lease. Yeah. So our resolution, what we're proposing, encourages the opportunities for the school board to own a building, but in the downtown area, I think would be crucial.
And before we wrap up, so this is something they would work through the Downtown Investment Authority to do?
Yeah, they couldn't get incentives from the DIA, but the DIA, Downtown Investment Authority, they know the lay of the land downtown. They know the players, they know the people. I think if they could collaborate together and give it a good effort to find a place downtown would be a huge plus. Not only for downtown, but for Jacksonville, for keeping the school board in a place of prominence. I just hope that perhaps this can come together.
Yeah. Matt Carlucci, I know it was a short segment, but that's our time. And
right.
While we're talking about this, we're also talking about Duval County Public Schools getting an A rating, an A grade for the very first time.
Super.
Things to celebrate there. Thank you so much, Councilman.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, so Mayor Donna Deegan's budget proposal scheduled to arrive in front of City Council tomorrow. Next time, Chris Hand is going to join us for our popular episode called Hand on Government. We'll talk about the budget and the request there. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17. And online, you'll find us at news4jax.com. And don't forget, streaming on News4Jax Plus. And don't forget to check out This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. The episode of our podcast looks at Florida real estate and how it's navigating the market in transition. You can find new episodes every Thursday at 9 a.m. And you're going to find this new episode right now on News4Jax Plus under the channel This Week in Jacksonville.
See why every day more people are choosing News4Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.